Welcome to the Locked In Pod.
We're your hosts,
Mina
and Shelly, here to bring you the conversations you didn't know you needed.
If you're ready to dive deep into unapologetic authenticity, you're in the right place.
But fair warning, if you're not here to be real and embrace your truth, this might not be the vibe for you.
We're on a mission to elevate our personal growth journeys through faith, breaking generational curses, and holding ourselves accountable.
So, if you're looking to surround yourself with positive energy and find tools to help you level up, lock in with us.
Right.
All right. Welcome back.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome, welcome, welcome back to another episode of the Locked In Pod. Now you have been here for 3 episodes this season. So that means you really rock with us. That means you really locked in.
You locked in.
You came back for a 3rd time, but she told you though. She told you that in episode 1 that you will be back.
Yeah, 1 is done.
1 and done.
It's over.
You stuck here. So yes, welcome back to everybody who is returning. Thank you for deciding to stay locked in with us for yet another. For anybody who's new, welcome. We are your hosts. My name is Menagerie, but you can call me Mina.
And my name is Michelle, but you can call me Shelly.
So thank you for locking in with us.
Yes.
Today was, I unfortunately had to do civic duties today. And it's unfortunate that was the case. Because baby, I don't know who invented jury duty. And what was the reason? What was that reason? And Cardi B voice, what was the reason? Really and truly. I would have much rather enjoyed my day off. But it's okay.
You did. You got it done.
And they don't got to call me for 4 years. Okay? I love that. So yeah. Today's title, you have seen it because you opened this audio, because you opened this video on YouTube. Who quit and who got fired? We're going to give y'all a second to pause this, run to them comments, and write your thought. Who do you think quit? Who do you think got fired?
I feel like that was, as y'all are trying to figure it out and piece clues together, that was probably one of the biggest changes that started happening at the, I can't even call it the pinnacle of our friendship, because we're probably not even there yet, or we haven't even reached the surface of what that looks like. But that was one of the biggest transitions that both of us had to experience from different sides. Yeah,
different points of view, baby. It was another thing that made us go, wow, look at that. Like another similarity, another thing that we had in common, but in our own unique way. But definitely probably the turning point for a lot of stuff. So we gave y'all the question. If you wrote in the comments, we'll see who was right, who was wrong.
Right.
But I guess we could get into telling y'all the answer to that. So I got fired, y'all. That was me. They let me go.
Did you dirty? That's what they did.
Yes, they did. They let me go. So that means that Shelly.
Yeah, I quit.
She chucked up the deuces.
Up out of there.
Yeah.
One thing's for sure, when you start to notice something is no longer for you, whether that's a person, place, thing, whatever, God's gonna give you 2 choices, right? He's either gonna allow you to take that step to leave what you know is no longer for you, or to stop doing what you know is no longer for you, or he's gonna push you off.
Yep.
And he's gonna force you out.
I wish I could throw my phone off, but we ain't trying to break her. But you know how somebody would have like one of those, he's gonna either do the first thing that you say, or he's gonna hit you on one of those. And one of those, that was me. That's why it hit me like that. It really did. But in a good way. So I guess I don't know. Who we want to go first?
I could go first.
Okay, go ahead.
Because I'm like, honestly, if I hadn't made the decision to quit, I don't know what it would have taken to for me to get fired from that job, but the way things were going down, it wouldn't have taken much. And I think I was at a point where I was like, I'll be damned if I get fired from this job. And I've been contemplating quitting this whole time. That's one thing, because that's what was happening around in the office. And I'm like, yeah, I can't go out like that. Because one, now, well, maybe we're gonna get there. Mm-hmm. But I'll start. So this was my last, well, technically I'm at it's not a 9 to 5 now. It's way more flexible, but that was my last 9 to 5 for the both of us.
Yep. Last one.
Standard corporate job. I had been there for 2 years. I had just made 2 years, so I quit last year, Labor Day, literally September 1st. I made 2 years working there October, so the month before. I said, what month I said just now? September 1st? No, September 1st, Labor Day weekend.
Because
yes.
mine was later in the month.
Yeah, so I had just made 2 years working there the month before. I won't get into much detail, but just know when I first started, I was very happy to work there. Before, I think I was maybe almost 6 months unemployed. Mm-hmm. And at this point, I had stopped network marketing, and that's also another story for another day. Mm-hmm. But I had gotten to a point where I wanted to get back in the field, and I wanted to broaden the population that I was working with. Mm-hmm. For if you've been here since episode 1, you know that I got my master's in social work. So that's the career, that's the profession I've taken ever since I was 18. But now I wanted to do it a little bit more different. So I had been there almost 2 years. This was the first time I had ever worked with majority Black coworkers. Like, we were the majority in this office. The head, the director was a Black woman. That was my first time ever experiencing a Black woman in charge. Of course, the CEO was a white woman, but in my building, it was the first time I'd ever experienced leadership from a Black woman in such a high ranking. Yeah, so I'm even calling my friends after the interview, like, oh my God, you wouldn't believe my interview was full of Black women and one Black man. Mm-hmm. And that comforted me in ways that I had never received before. It encouraged me. It made me see like where I could be, like I could really accomplish my goals, not only within this agency, but also outside of this agency. Like, I'm literally going to develop the tools that I need to do what I need to get done. Mm-hmm. The first year was great. The vibes in the office, the conversations, the way staff meetings were being held, everything was fine. And then we switched leadership, and I don't want to say things went downhill. It just became more and more clear that the mission that was written on the websites and said in conference meetings or staff meetings, the client wasn't really the priority as we were preaching. Because the caseworkers and the other staff working closely with the clients would bring up concerns and bring up things that, they wanted to get done in favor of the client, but it was always like
supportive.
More focused on the numbers and how many people we're gonna get through and how many admissions we're gonna get. It doesn't matter if you just did 2 3-hour intakes last week. You next in rotation, we don't have enough workers, so you have to just suck it up. Yep. And it got to a point where the staff, we were tired of certain things that were happening, certain changes that were being made to really just punish us. But what was being preached was that this was for our betterment. Where there's only a few people, maybe 2 or 3 people coming in late consistently. So now we're going to change everybody's hours so that everybody comes in at the same time. And now we're going to look at the time that you clocked in. And now we're going to look at this and look at that. And it was just every week, it was a new reinforcement, a new rule, a new this, a new this, a new this, and even more work put on us. And we got to the point where we started speaking up more in the staff meetings. And, you know, when you are someone with a voice, people who don't want you to think for yourself don't like that, because they want you to just follow whatever rules they set in place and just be obedient to that.
Be what I like to call as a yes man or yes woman in this case.
Yeah, and that office was not full of yes men. I am not a yes woman, so that just is something that does not work for me. And especially, I've noticed it's more consistently in roles where a male is my supervisor, and it always comes off as, if I'm speaking up and advocating for myself, or if I'm advocating for my client, or if I'm advocating for my coworker, it always comes off as being not disobedient. What's the word?
Insubordinate.
Yes.
I have to laugh at that word, because when we get to my story,
child, yes,
I heard that one a lot.
And the way I speak up for myself in a workspace, in an office space, is not how I would check you if we outside in front of Target or in the middle of the street somewhere.
It's different. It's a corporate check.
Because you're still gonna get checked. You're just gonna get checked respectfully. Yeah, you're gonna get it
done respectfully.
With a smile on my face, because I'm dead ass.
To whom it may concern.
So that started increasing, and it became a pattern of me speaking up and it being misconstrued as something else. And me, when I'm being rude and being disrespectful, I'll admit to that, and I'll come back and I'll say, you know what, that wasn't the right thing to do. That wasn't right for me to say at that moment. This is what I meant, and this is why I reacted this way. But this is just like in a relationship. If I'm coming to you speaking up openly and honestly, don't in private say that you're hearing my concerns and you're going to do everything in your power to correct things, and you're actually looking the other way. So now, not only am I trusting in you as my supervisor, as my director, to look out for me, because I'm not just picking up my things and leaving, or talking shit about the company behind your back, or even around the office starting gossip and spreading rumors. I'm coming to you and I'm letting you know this is what's happening, so that way a solution can be found. Something. But the other cheek was being turned, and I started having. There was one day I was at work, and it had only been like 2:00. I worked until 5. Every fiber in my being, like, cringed at the fact that I had to be at work for another few hours. It had gotten to the point where I was so frustrated. I literally, that one day, I cried, because I had been overwhelmed with the amount of cases I was receiving. Like, people were quitting, getting fired left and right. Like, the atmosphere at my job was no longer this safe, welcoming, encouraged environment that I was introduced to. So now I had made a vow to myself years ago. The minute my spirit is disturbed at a workspace, I'm leaving. So I started noticing my spirit getting disturbed. The energy in the office is not even the same anymore. Even in staff meetings, like, you can't bring up anything, because then it's oh, that was actually addressed and said, so your point is not valid. But nobody's writing anything in these staff meetings, so the only proof that I have is to say, I remember you said that, and actually my coworker remembers, but now it looks like you and your coworkers is ganging up on leadership. There's just a whole bunch of mess happening. And so that day that I broke into tears, sitting at my desk, I'm like, it was literally me asking myself, like, do you want to be here? And the answer obviously was no. And it's like, well, you know you don't have to stay here, right? And I really was like, I had to lean back in my chair, like, wow, because it wasn't until that moment that I realized so many people fight those personal fights.
Yep, all the time.
Whether it's in the office, at home, in the parking lot before they get into the office, in the parking lot before they go home, and they'll stay because it's this sense of obligation to the agency, or financially you just cannot afford to
just, or you think you cannot.
Right.
Because there are loopholes.
Right. Mm-hmm. And so it was like, okay, well, now that you've established, now that you realize you have the power to change your circumstance, what are you going to do about it? And I kept holding off on the feeling. I kept ignoring. I kept, no, I can make this work. Because of my insubordination, my team leader got switched to someone who I'd already expressed that I did not like their supervising style, their supervision style. I did not like the way they handled certain issues that came up, or like the way he had his team working. Like, I had already outwardly expressed that I wasn't in favor. It would actually clash with the way I work, and I would quit. I told them, if you pair me with this, I promise you I won't be here. They paired me, and I'm like,
that was it. I feel like that was you giving them, like you said, the ammunition to, it was whatever it was gonna take, they was gonna get you out of there.
So literally, and I didn't realize it till hindsight, when your job realizes you're almost ready to go or you're starting to become a problem, they're gonna do things to purposely push you out.
Yep.
Whether it's you getting fired or you quitting.
You quitting. Yep.
So I'm like, okay. And now I have him as a supervisor. I'm eating it. I'm like, okay, let me try to flip the tables. I'm a overwork. If you wanna micromanage me, I'm gonna do extra things or just figure out his working style. But it didn't matter what I did. Nothing was good enough. And me, once I have tried to reason with you and you take a stance that you let me give context. I had a meeting with said supervisor after something had happened and it rubbed me completely the wrong way. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna have a meeting with him because we're both adults. And if I come to you, you're not gonna, just because I'm your supervisee, I don't work for you. We both work for this company. So let's clear that up. That's number one. So I went, had a conversation with him. I said, listen, this is what I submitted. This is what your corrections were. Here is why I don't think that is the appropriate approach. And I would appreciate if the style between me and you went this way. This is how I respond if this is what you want. He said, what did he say to me? He was like, well, if I did that, then that would mean that I work for you. I sat there and I looked at him. I said, after all of that I just said, for us to try to come to a compromise, a middle ground, you think making a compromise with me means that you work for me? And I said, you know what? Am I free to go? Because this conversation is not, we're just this back and forth. We're just going to keep doing it. Mm-hmm. So after that conversation, I was like, okay, it's going to clearly keep getting worse until one of the two happens. So I had on Labor Day, September 1st, it was a Friday, I had made the decision that at the end of the day, I was going to submit a letter of resignation and give them a 30-day notice. By the end of that work shift, that changed to an immediate notice because my supervisor was on 10. It was one thing after the other that day. And I'm like, yeah, no. I'm not dealing with that. I've had enough. And I've already spoken to who I needed to speak to. But the time that they're saying you need to allow to pass is just so that I can just keep completing the work and getting stuff done and helping the numbers increase. Yep. So I said, okay. That whole day, I didn't talk back to my supervisor. I didn't respond negatively. I was just like, okay, I'm gonna get this done. It's almost the end of the day and I noticed you still haven't completed this. That's because I'm still trying to complete the work from the 2-hour assessment that I just, like, you saw me leave that room. You saw that I was in there for 2 hours. How could I have completed this by now. So I said, okay, put all the papers there. I was the last person in the office. I typed up my resignation letter. Everybody left. You're still here? Oh, yeah. Because it wasn't unusual for me to stay back a little bit if I needed to complete some work. I made sure that day I brought my work phone, my laptop, all of its chargers, my work ID, everything. I stacked it, laid it on top of the chair, tucked the chair in, took one last look at my desk. I had a little Will Smith moment.
I remember when you sent that voice note. You was like, "Well,
I did it."
it's
like
done.
And I left, and we were off that Monday. So I sent my emails to HR. So my supervisor didn't get the notice until Tuesday morning, and that was it. The director at the time, well, he might still be the director, but the director, he gave me a call, tried to tried to have me come back in to interview for a supervisor position, and I'm like, when I was trying to do all of this. When I was trying to do all of this, you said I needed more time. I hadn't worked here long enough. I needed to, even though I had already proven my work ethic and my skills, I needed to prove it more because you hadn't seen it with your own eyes. Yeah, and it's crazy because I almost went back to like, oh yeah, this is actually what I wanted, and then something in my brain was like, girl,
what makes you think it's gonna be different? Yep. So, and that be how the enemy try to test. He be trying to be like, go ahead, go back in there and deal with that chaos. And it's like, no, I already know what God said about my peace of mind.
Yeah.
So stick to them guns. Yep.
And I did. And I honestly, of course, money has come up and down, right, since then. But this is the most free I've ever felt. And so many people had their own opinions about me quitting, and they felt like I was giving up on my major, my degree, and whatnot. And I'm like, no, but I'm taking a stand on.
I'm standing for what I believe in.
Right for me. And every work environment is gonna have its things, but disrespect should not be one of those things that is included in that environment. Misguide, like, I don't even know, misdirection, supervisors who aren't qualified to even be leading you.
Leaders who shouldn't be leaders.
Because if we want to talk about that too, I was way more qualified than my own supervisor. But did I once minimize his education or insult his intelligence? No, never, because that's not even in my character. So when certain things was happening, I'm like, yeah, at this point, this is given. Y'all don't even care that y'all about to lose somebody. Like, I was more qualified than most people in the office, and everybody knew it, because when I would speak to my coworkers, they would be like, "Why are you working here?" And I'm like,
I'm trying to figure that out too. I'm trying to ask myself.
Messages were being sent to me left and right. Like,
same thing.
I was too good to be there. So yeah, when that happened, I'm like, yeah, I'm no longer. If I stay here, I'm purposely enduring all of these things, and I no longer have the right to complain about it.
It's a choice now. Yeah, I've chosen this position.
Yeah, and I decided that wasn't gonna be my choice no longer. So yeah, take a stand. Even after I submitted my letter, like, I spoke to one of my friends, and she was going through something with her job where she felt like she had outgrown it, and every week something new was happening to, like, test her patience and test her integrity and everything. And I'm like, you know what? This is what literally I just experienced, and this is the step I was able to take. But I realized I'm in a different journey than you are. This is your first time having or even thinking about quitting immediately, cold turkey, without giving notice. I'm like, this is maybe my second, but I had already had this moment with myself, deciding that I deserve more. And anytime I felt like that, I have the right to remove myself.
You do.
So I'm like, you know, I respect your decision. If you want to stay there, that's your decision to make. You're on a different journey than me, but understand that when you feel it in your gut, and your intuition is telling you, and everything is no longer the peaceful environment that you knew and you acknowledged, you deserve better. And you deserve an environment that's going to be welcoming, that's going to be safe
Give
enough
you peace of mind.
to allow you to be you fully, 100%. And I feel like the job was slowly stripping me from that. Like, I went from stepping up and participating and giving suggestions to improve the program and the agency to, like, you know what, I'm just here to do my work, and once I do my work, I'm gonna leave. But that's a change that had already happened. It started with that. It starts with that. I'm gonna just be in the background.
And that's how you know. When you start to dim your light, when you start to become less and less you, that's when you know that's not where you should be.
Yeah, so it was I feel like I had so much anxiety that day because I just did not know what would happen afterwards. But at the end of the day, I was like, you know what? Guy never failed me
before.
So I know.
You finna start now.
So I was like,
that's the gangster you gotta. That's when you're a believer. That's how gangster you can walk outside.
Send.
You can step at any given moment.
Yeah.
God got me all the time. Never fail.
The director, he was I'm so surprised and I'm so shocked. Are you?
Yeah, or you are because you're not used to people speaking up for themselves. People don't do that.
And you thought I was going to stay there for another 3-5 more years.
To that. Yeah, no. People don't. They don't stay around for that when money is involved. People don't know their worth over the dollar that they're receiving consistently. That's like this pillow in my lap. That's like a cushion that people are afraid to lose. Security, money, benefits. Oh my God, how am I gonna do it?
Yeah,
you don't know how you do many things in life, but we get it done.
Yep. If you were forced, if your hand was forced, you would figure out a way. You would figure out a way, but don't wait till that hand is forced, because you don't know. Like I said, you either gonna be able to take that step out, or you're gonna get pushed off the cliff, and you don't know what that's gonna look like
or what that feels like.
You don't know what's that, and it's crazy because literally my 1 year into the job, I had decided that I wanted to apply for other jobs just for a higher income. Ended up going for an interview, ended up getting accepted to the position, and I literally talked myself out of it. So I feel like because I didn't take that step right then and there, when literally it was set up for me to transition smoothly to another job and receive higher pay and receive walk into a position that will allow me more creative control and things like that. I decided against something that would benefit me for the sake of the agency. And that's how things got worse the next year. And it was like, okay, you wanted to stay, so we're going to see. Are you sure you want to be here? I felt that was the question consistently. Are you sure? Are you sure? How long are you going to accept this?
That's what God be doing. You be testing to make sure you're sure. Okay, this is what you asked for. And you get what you asked for.
Yeah, so don't. Even if you got to pre-write the letter, do that. Because it will make things clear. And I feel like once you even have the thought, like, should I be here still? Things are going to show up. It's going to come to the light where you're going to see the chaos and the bullshit. It's not worth it. It's never worth it. It's never worth your sanity or your dignity, your integrity, your morals, everything. Like, it's not worth it.
Never. I think that mine it's similar but different. It looks like that's a wrap on today's episode of the Loc'd In Pod.
We appreciate you for being a part of our journeys and taking us along on yours. Make sure you hit us up on all our platforms: Instagram, YouTube, Patreon, and TikTok. We want you in our community.
Remember, we drop new episodes every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Set those reminders and turn those post notifications on.
And don't sleep on us. Stay locked in with us in the comments. We want to hear your thoughts and stories.
Until next time, keep it unapologetic and authentic.